What do you mean? I'll tell you. After you have me open up about my fragrance obsession, I'm now like tempted to buy something a little rare, but I know how to get my hands on. But I don't know how to justify the spending of $100, even though it would be a steal. This is Fairuz, one of the legends of the Arabic music field. يا حبيبي واسمي بمحل يا حبيبي واسمي بمحل. Anyways, so what am I thinking about buying? We were talking about amber and stuff. So what I was thinking about is, something a little interesting. Now, this is something you have absolutely not seen before. Now, when we got truth, yeah, here you go. Here you go. That's much better. So this is also amber, but this is amber aged in a leather pouch made out of usually Giselle skin, and they hold. This used to be 100 milligrams, and used to be all the way up to there. But because of the aging process and because it is being aged in a leather pouch, the idea is that it has uh, enough space that some liquid will escape and will make it even more concentrated. So this is aged 50 years, and this is used to be all the way up to here, and after 50 years it's now down to here. The original weight was 100 grams. I'm sure this is less. Now, this is usually very hard to get your hands on, and usually this is the base of luxury perfumes, and the base of luxury perfumes. So like this wouldn't be the sole ingredient, but it would be one of the star ingredients in a very expensive fragrance. It's aged in this leather pouch, and they just leave it aging, and some of the liquid escapes the leather because it's made out of leather, and it allows the oil to become thicker and thicker and become stronger over time. So, like, if I take this, that one is sealed with wax, and I let it sit for another 10 years, it only increases in value, but I'm thinking about using it. There's no need to just have it set aside. But yeah, that's been on my purchase list for years now. And I found a good reasonable price for it on it, and figured maybe I should get my hands on one of them. So I'm eyeing it out. I'm eyeing it out, but I can't justify $100 for the moment. Yes, it's also tied at the top in addition to the wax, and then there's a cork After you take the cork, there's some wax and there's a metal piece that you have to remove with a plier, and then there's a cork in there. You have to remove that cork. It's almost like wine, almost like wine. It smells like amber, but very thick amber. Again, this is not for everyone, and if you use a tiny a drip of it, it would be too much. And I think most Americans wouldn't like it on its own. It would be better with spices, with other oils mixed with it, like spices, flowers, and making it into fragrance. Amber is a very magical scent, I would say. You would think like, where the hell did I smell? Like, it is very magical, but the fact that it's very thick means you need a tiny drop. Now, this is at least going to be 50 grams, so it's going to be worth a lot of money. Yeah, but the economy now is not doing so good. We haven't been getting a lot of paid subscribers. So like maybe if I get enough paid subscribers, I'll buy one. If today I get 3 or 4 paid subscribers, I'll get it. But if I don't get three or four paid subscribers, I can't justify it. So yeah, I'll keep it in the back pocket. But it's ready. I found it. I'm glad I found it, and hopefully we'll get it sometime soon. And we have been doing, like ventures in the beginning of my episodes every day, where we talk about fragrances a little bit because I think I don't know if you guys know this. Fragrances has been used as medicine in some ways. They have been used as a grounding technique. And if you get something natural, if you get something that's well made, if you get something that the benefits, the health benefit that comes from it, you feel a lot better. Someone was asking if mirth and frankincense is mentioned in the Bible. Yes, it is mentioned in the Bible. And in fact, the Catholic Church spends billions of dollars each year on mirth and on uh, frankincense. And I have both of them. Mirth smells citrusy on the orange notes almost. Like it's almost like if you had an orange in there, but it's not like orange, but it has that note in there. Frankincense, if you've been to a Catholic church and any of the kids pass by you with the incense thing and you've smelled the smoke, that's definitely frankincense. Frankincense is used in the Middle East in a lot of places. I think if you understood the health benefits from frankincense oil, you would use it on a regular basis, whether on a oil or whether on a smoke level, because it is good for inflammation, good for anxiety, amazing for grounding. Anytime I'm in a bad mood, I put some frankincense on to fix my mood, other than the fact that I have, these nice oil fragrances. But if I really am like upset and I want to ground myself, or I'm feeling like I need a little health boost, I put some frankincense on. So yeah, the this is part of our morning banter where we discuss these things until people show up, and so we don't have to break the news over and over for everyone again. So let me show you the difference between mirth and frank. We're almost to the news. Now you know I'm a collector because I have I usually save the big pieces because the big pieces are usually harder to get your hands on. But this is mirth. You could see it's like brown, oranges, smells citrusy a little bit. And then frankincense come from different mirth comes from different countries. Frankincense come from different countries. Um, these are some of the frankincense I have. The some of the bigger pieces. Now a church would use a whole of the like a whole thing like this in a ceremony. That would be enough for a ceremony to go through the whole church, a big church. And on the this is on the value end about $20, but if you want to go into the higher end, the royal levels, they usually go up to a couple $100 for something like this. This is mirth when it's like on the whole side, and then frankincense. Now you have frankincense that's quality good enough for cooking. Arabs use frankincense in their cooking, especially in dessert, because it's a good binder and it has a little bit of nice flavor. Some fresh frankincense is used in natural gum. It's amazing for your teeth. It's a good way to beat the fungi in your mouth and a very natural way. You see a lot of the natural gums now that they're selling to you. They have frankincense in it because it's a natural gum, comes out of a tree, especially if it's fresh and not dry. It's really good for you. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you coming, ladies and gentlemen. This is Get Informed with Wajih. I am Wajih Lion. After we've answered a lot about our fragrances and what is healthy and what is not healthy, and can fragrances be used as medicine? And the answer is yes, of course. Let's hit and get to the news. The Jordanian army says its forces have shot down three Iranian missiles while a fourth fell in a remote area. No casualties or material damage have been reported. The Kuwaitis have says a power and water desalination plant has been targeted by the Iranian forces for the second time in 2 days, causing fire in some facilities and some civilian casualties. The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran says multiple projectiles hit the under construction uh, Darhov nuclear power plant site, according to local media. And the UN Nuclear Watch investigators have said that they are going to look into it. The Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and the Iraqi Prime Minister Ali Al Zaidi during talks in Doha expressed the importance of dialogue to ensure freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Our His Majesty Donald Trump says Republicans should add Iran to the Russia sanction bill that imposes penalties on countries that buy Russian oil. Iran says the United States has attacked the underground construction nuclear power plant. Thus, I already mentioned that. The U.S. Embassy in Jordan has strongly advised U.S. citizens not to go to the airport or seaports in the cities of Aqaba because of a specific credible threat, quote unquote. The warning comes after the U.S. Soldiers were killed. One went missing, two killed, one missing, and others were wounded in the Jordan attack from Iran. Donald Trump, Baba Trump says the death of the U.S. soldiers were very sad thing, adding that we've never allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. A top Iranian commander has warned the U.S. that any aggression or barbarism will be met with decisive and devastating response from the armed forces. It's interesting that how we have in the West have been labeling Iran for a very long time as this barbaric country, and I giggled because they're calling the U.S. a barbarian. They're calling the U.S. behavior barbarianism, or the aggression is barbarian. Barbarian, yeah, barbarian. And I think it depending on who you ask, this might be a reality check. We're literally hitting a civilian infrastructure at this point, and Iran is responding by attacking other civilian infrastructure in the region. And Trump is not waking up. Meaning, like by the end of the show today with Malcolm Nass, Malcolm said something very interesting, and it's very true. He said that at this point, the U.S. is attacking the same targets as if they're just following someone's specific commands. And I quote, I mean, is that too far off the truth? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's on spot on. And when you are like that, how are you going to fight back? I don't know, man. Nice thing though, I have some good news for you. What's the good news? The good news is that um we have a very special guest for you tomorrow. The special guest is a professor and a fellow at the University of Georgetown. Nice thing is that Professor Deborah Shushan, I believe, would be an amazing guest to discuss the current escalation situation in the region. So I'm gonna start collecting your questions in my channel, and your questions will be considered a lot when I will be interviewing the professor. I think I would. I'm considering if I should make it a paid or open to all live stream, but I think having it open to all, especially if we can get enough paid subscribers to, support the channel, we can probably get it to become open for everyone. And regarding my friend Justice for the grassroots training, I finished my first consultation with them where I was teaching them how to work Substack and the kind of equipment they need to be purchasing so they can start having their own podcast and start having their own content creation on Substack. So I am getting you one of my mentors who taught me how to become a grassroots organizer. And she's getting ready to set up her channel, and I will be having her on to do basic grassroots training. And then you guys could start following her and attending her classes on teaching you how to become a grassroots organizer. So yeah, that's exciting for me. I'm kind of excited about these events that are going to be happening. I was asking about the fragrances. Do you have the oil that comes from the animals? You mean musk? I don't have any animal musk or animal byproducts at the moment, but no. There's different animal byproducts that come from for fragrances. Musk is one of them. I don't have any musk at the moment. No. How much does it cost? I missed that. You must have been talking about the bottle. Depending on the source, I could. It's either $200 or $100, 200 some dollars before shipping. And that one I'm like 100% sure is authentic. And the other one I'm not sure about. Are you familiar with the Wiseman Healing Balm? No, I'm not familiar with it. Do you react to the smoke? Have some people get dizzy or have high or high? You shouldn't be getting high off of frankincense. And if you get sensitive to the frankincense being burnt, you could always get the frankincense and an essential oil and add it to some water evaporator that will push it out in your air. Or you could put it under one of those candles, like those plates that you put oil and you have a candle under it, and it burns that oil, that's a little bit more tolerable for some people. Anyways, any question? If you guys want to ask your questions on here, you can ask your questions on here. I'll also ask you, see if why isn't Substack notifying me when I send extra money? I'm not sure if I'm receiving the extra money. No, I'm not sure. Maybe you want to try my Venmo if you want to send me some extra. What do you think about Iran saying that the U.S. is out of Strait of Hormuz permanently? Well, that they so far they have kept the United States out of the Strait of Hormuz. Matt, yeah, I just looked him up. How many innocent Iranians has the U.S. murdered? Roughly, at least few hundred. At least few hundred. Everybody can see if they are looking for truth that Israel committing atrocities in Gaza, Lebanon, and that our U.S. is executing a no fault war or creating. Anybody with a moral knows this is our America. Leave this. Actually, want to do something about it. Listen, your question is about like, oh, anyone can look at this and see it's wrong. Anyone Americans should act about this. Is it there enough Americans that would want to end this? That's what I've been saying. I've been telling you if anyone wanted to put this war to an end, it's the Americans and the Israelis. The Americans and Israelis need to come out and they need to do something and put this war to an end. The world can protest your war as much as they want, but the reality is they have no control over your leadership. You are the one electing your next leaders, and you need to take responsibility and make changes in your political administration. It's uncomforting to hear, but that's the truth. Americans need to stop being Americans, need to start stand up and say enough is enough. If not enough Americans do that, then the war keeps going. You keep paying for it. Can you get more details as to why Iran would retaliate due to destruction of desalination plant and what is the percentage of their dependency on these desalination plants? Of course, I've answered that question many times before. These Gulf countries depend at least 90% to 100% on their fresh waters from these desalination plants. Gulf states are 100% dependent on these desalination plants, if you want to put it bluntly. If these desalination plants are hit, people in these Gulf states will no longer be able to live in them, meaning they will have to leave. meaning they can no longer live there, meaning even the foreign workers have to leave. That like that that's as simple it is. Also, the United States is targeting these same infrastructures in Iran. Iran only started targeting civilian infrastructures in the Gulf states as the United States is starting to attack the Iranian civilian infrastructure. Do I believe that Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and other allied countries would send troops into Iran with the U.S. if we send? I think that would be a very stupid decision on their if they did that. And I don't think these leaders want to do that because Saudi Arabia couldn't even win the war in Yemen. Nevertheless, win a war against Iran. I hope that makes sense. Also, do these allied countries actually agree with Trump? No, they don't. And they're slowly trying to find ways to leave the US alliances. All they're doing right now is damage control. There is no plan, real military plan that will bring us any victory anytime soon. How did these countries used to get clean water in the older days? Well, back before water desalination plants, these people depend on water wells, and but a lot of these water wells now have been they're not good even for watering your plants. Sometimes, if you're close to the sea, they become extra salty. If you are next to gas stations, sometimes these gas stations don't do very good protection for their oil storage. So you'll have oil leaking out of these oil storages and then it'll leak into the waterways. So it's not as reliable as you think. I'm talking out of experience. Now that is shiny. What was each Middle Eastern country's relationship to Iran like before the US started the war? Believe it or not, most of these Gulf states actually started fixing their relationship with Iran for the first time in a long time. Saudi Arabia, just a few years ago, started their diplomatic relations again with Iran. And it was on a path forward where we could see some, potential for improvement. But His Majesty Baba Trump decided that no, no nuclear weapons, no, and that America needs to make a unilateral decision of attacking all of these Iranian strategic assets. Unfortunately, so yeah, yeah, that was happening. If you're watching this for the first time, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and join the community. Ask your questions about the Middle East. We're more than happy to answer it for you. And, the vision here is to answer as many questions as you have, however you think it's stupid or not stupid about the Middle East. My belief is that the more people have questions unanswered about the situation in the Middle East, the more they have phobias. The more they have phobias, the more these questions get answered by their own fears or by people that fill it up with misinformation. So my job here is to help answer all of your questions. None of your questions I consider are offensive because if I get offended, then I'm failing at my job. My job here is to make sure that you learn about the Middle East and learn about the culture and history and religion. And without that context, you feel like you are missing out on a lot of the information, or you feel like you're not getting the full picture. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you get the full picture. So if you like this type of information, if you like the firsthand and source intelligence, for example, today I found the interview of the foreign minister of Iran with the Times of Iran, and I thought that was a very important video to dub. So we spent money from our own resources, and we paid the company to dub that video so people could understand really who's making decisions at the moment regarding Iran peace talks with the United States. And I thought hearing that directly from the source was way better than me trying to explain it to you over and over again. So he showed up, and since we paid money to dub it, why not play it over for you guys now? It's a very good video.
Delegate this duty to after that? The Supreme National Security Council. The Supreme National Security Council. Look at the whole makeup of the council in the Constitution. The military is there, politicians are there, domestic policy is there, foreign policy is there, economists are there, the person in charge of the country's money and financial resources is there, security officials are there too. The Constitution has envisioned such a makeup, choosing from the highest ranks of each. It says they should make the decisions in times of peace, war, or whatever. And even then, peace and war, according to the Constitution, is still up to the leadership. I mean, all of this decision making is planned out. It's not like you and I can just say, well, maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen. There are no ifs. They have to calculate it precisely. In those Supreme Council meetings, well, everyone spoke precisely from their own perspective. One would say, look, what is my tolerance in terms of providing for the people's livelihood? Another would say, what is my military tolerance? How long can I fight? How long can't I do this or that? I would say, suppose, what is our foreign policy situation? Are we isolated right now or not? Are we getting resolutions passed against us or not? Everything, where our strength is, where our weakness. Everyone spoke in the meeting. In that specific final meeting that I'm referring to, it started at 9 in the evening and went on until 3 in the morning.
On which day?
The same one where they approved the memorandum of understanding with the US. The last meeting of that. The very one that is being questioned, and well, there's a lot of talk about.
11 of those 13 people voted in favor. Was it the same number for the ceasefire too?
The ceasefire took place under much more difficult security conditions. At that time, it wasn't possible to hold a Supreme Council meeting, because if we had held a Supreme Council meeting and, for example, it got bombed at that moment, the country would really.
Well, then, through what process was it approved for us to accept the ceasefire?
At that time, it was approved in smaller meetings, and
meaning in groups of 4, groups of 3, and then the conclusion of those. Was everyone in agreement?
Well, naturally, back then, there were also opposing and supporting views. Of course, you really can't compare the conditions of that time with the conditions afterward. As we did under a war, where even for two people to meet was difficult. But meetings did take place in the end, and discussion.
Everyone in agreement?
Like I said, there were supporting and opposing views there too. Ultimately, on this condition, that if the US accepts that the 10-point proposal we had given be the basis for negotiations, we can accept the ceasefire.
And everyone agreed on this too? I mean, did the military agree?
Look, the main players are the military. Let me put it this way. Because the war is in their hands. If they aren't convinced, you can't have a war.
Who did I tell you is in control in Iran since day one? Who did I say is in control of Iran since day one? Didn't I say it's the military? Didn't I tell you the last decision and the last voice in Iran goes to the Iranian IRGC? Now you're hearing it from the foreign minister himself. Yo, boy, been telling you what's up since day one. You may have believed me, you may not have believed me. You were skeptical or not skeptical. You're hearing it directly from the foreign minister. Security Council can argue as much as they want. The last choice comes at the military. I don't understand your question, Kirkish. But did I come up with no? Saudi Arabia only has 400 missiles left for Patriot missiles to protect themselves from Iran. So if they don't lean heavily on their Pakistani ally, who has signed the security agreement adding Saudi Arabia under their nuclear protection umbrella, you'd be seeing Saudi government being hit really hard. Interestingly, Malcolm, a few days ago, messaged me on Signal. He goes, U.S. Air Force has moved forces to King Fahd Air Base near Mecca. They're hoping that by being closer to Mecca, the Iranians are less likely to attack them. These people do not understand anything, do they? The Iranians at this point don't give a fuck. As long as they're not attacking Mecca itself, they're okay. You're near Mecca. You're not in Mecca. And the fact that you're an infidel near Mecca is a good excuse for the Iranians to hit you anyways. The same excuse Osama bin Laden used. What are our people doing? I have no clue. I forgot that I put ask your questions here today. If the US lets loose on Iran, which Middle Eastern country will receive Iran's revenge the most? Even if the US start attacking Iran. Oh, it's fair game, everyone. Mostly if the US goes full in, the Iranian goes all in. All of what we're seeing now is Iran demonstrating their capabilities of what they can do to their neighboring countries. You are not seeing any actual full on war yet. This is what they call tit for tat. If you're watching this and you like this type of content, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It helps us pay bills and keep this work going so I could do it for longer and we can do more dubbing like what we just showed you earlier. So consider becoming a paid subscriber so we can give you the latest update and intelligence and news for everyone. Didn't the Iranian revolution keep the security apparatus, the Shah, long shadow? As long as the whole point is to keep. Where do you find my Venmo? You find it in my profile. You go to my profile. There is a link for my Venmo. It's under the bio. The last thing in my bio. There's a link to my Venmo. Thank you for considering to donate to my Venmo. I give you exactly the link for my Venmo. Do not go someone else's Venmo. Some people out there trying to steal money from you guys. I'm sorry about that. I'm looking for questions. Uh, any other questions? We are reaching almost the hour mark. I think I will take a little longer to wait for any more questions that you guys have. But I think how many Middle Eastern countries are liberal democratic democracies? Who told you there's democracies in the Middle East? There's no such thing. No such thing. Even Israel is a Jewish country. All of the country in the Middle East, maybe they do painting to look democratic, but actual democracies, you're mistaking. Wrong continent. It's not even a continent. A wrong geographic location. They don't understand. Even when you tell Arabs, "Oh, do you want a democracy?" Go, "Oh, our Arab people don't understand democracy." You're like, "What the fuck?" You're like, "Are you sure you don't want a democracy?" No, no. Democracy, us? No. You're like, hold on, relax a second. Like, I'm asking you just a personal question. Do you want a democracy? He goes, listen, you see the Saudi government killing its own people? They have peace. You see, Saddam Hussein was killing his own people. They had peace. Saddam Hussein gone. Now they have terrorism. That's the mindset at the moment. Are there liberal Arabs out there calling for democracies? Yes. But like the mindset is at the moment is, yeah, yeah. What democracy? What you democracy? You know, Gaddafi, the previous dictator of Libya, he used to make the word fun of the word democracy. He used to go, democracy is enunciated in Arabic, dimu ala al-karasi, stay in your seats, a power. Dimu ala al-karasi. He changed the whole word, 3 words. Dimu ala al-karasi, stay in power, stay in your seats of power. The Middle East doesn't have any democracy. There's authoritarianism. There's theocracies. There's transitioning states. There are states that have, some sort of representation, but don't no real democracy. So there's difference. There's a difference between democracy and representation, having some sort of representation. Good question, though. Good question. How do you think that Saudi Arabia allows gay visitors to come from across the world? But gay Saudis get thrown in prison the same exact way. If it was a democracy, maybe different. You know, if you have the phone number for the Matrix to change the timeline, you call me first, okay? Someone is asking, can we change this timeline? Any more questions in my chat? My chit chat. Does Iran give broad alerts to its public to warn against attacks? Not they're not that good. No, they usually get hit blindsided. What about the gay cruise? I think they're waiting to get approval to park. They were denied entrance to Egypt, I think, and Jordan and Turkey, but we'll see if Saudi Arabia lets them in. Will the Saudi government reconsider their investment with Jared Kushner? What reconsideration? They already gave him the money. He already has the billion. What do you mean? What reconsideration? There's nothing to reconsider. The bribe has already been given. Sorry if this has already been addressed. Is Russia helping Iran? Of course, Russia is helping Iran, and China is helping Iran. To what extent, we don't know yet. How much help they are getting actually from Iran is the biggest question. Looking. Any more questions here? No more questions. Well, I guess, but Putin doesn't want to destabilize Trump regime. I don't know. Putin has a war with Ukraine, and he's looking for financial benefits at the moment from Iran. and they're getting a lot of financial benefits at the moment. My T-shirt says "No war with Iran," and I made this T-shirt back in 2017, 2018, when I predicted that Donald Trump wanted to go to war back then. So I've had this shirt back then. I custom made this shirt myself, and I was, predicting that Donald Trump is going to go to war with Iran. And a few years later, my prediction came true. Not in his first administration, but in his second administration. So when you can see someone else's actions through their behaviors and through their talks and through the people they surround, uh, surround yourself with people that would take you to stuff, to doing stupid decisions like this, it makes sense. How close are we to a world war? I think people think that the world is united regarding this war. I think if you see a more hard, like two divided hardliners, you would think that, yeah, I could see a world war happening, but it's too early. No nuclear weapons have been used. European countries are against this war. Majority of countries around the world are against this war. They just want the world to come to an end. So it's not likely to be. We're not as close as some people like to think to a world war. We're more likely to be closer to economic catastrophe, global economic catastrophes, if you're wanting to do a measure on the global stage. If you would see more conflict, you would see more localized conflicts rather than international conflict. Economic inequality and economic desperation only creates more political polarization inside each country. So it's more likely you would see harder division lines inside of every countries with this war over having a world war, if that makes any sense. That's why I keep repeating my point about the class war versus the culture war. Regardless of what country you're in this world at the moment, there is the real political polarization, especially in the Western world. And they all want to throw each other under the bus, blaming each other for this type of conflict, blaming the issue on immigration, blaming the issue on uh, right versus left. And you're seeing it being played in European countries, and you're seeing it being played in the United States. That's exactly what's happening. People need to wake up that instead of the fight for a culture war, they need to take a second and fight that everyone needs to be paid way more, that the economic inequality is creating this political polarization, and you just have to make sure that people wake up to that as much as possible. We can blame each other for this conflict. We can blame the Republicans. We can blame the MAGA cult. But I think what we need to convince them is that we're not the swamp. And I know that you don't want the swamp. And the ones that are creating the swamps are the 1%. So let's all uh, get rid of our establishments. I want to let everyone know that your work has been paying off. People have been coming and calling their representatives and senators about Section 1417 in the Senate and Section 219 in the House. and it was voted down. No one saw that coming. So keep up your work, keep up your actions. And this is exactly the point that I'm making. This is exactly the point I'm making. People need to start putting their country first and put party lines second. People need to put, culture war aside, and they need to focus on putting their nation and economy first, so everyone has a chance in this economy. And people need to understand that we need these immigrants as much as you need anyone else in this country. Most of your labor in the United States is created by immigrants, whether it's highly trained or not highly trained, whether it's highly educated or not highly educated. You are dependent on foreign laborers in the United States, including your nurse labor. You have hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of people coming from the Philippines because they are the largest exporters of nurses in the world. And the United States has shortages of nurses, period. So, this is just as an example. So, your doctors are from abroad, your engineers are from abroad. The only way your economy can grow and get bigger is by having more people coming and investing in it. And if you don't allow that type of expansion to happen, you're going to have a retraction, and you're going to have an economy that is forced to get smaller. Korea, South Korea, Japan are all now countries that had really harsh immigration policies, opening their countries for the first time to almost everyone because they're just low numbers of uh, not producing as many people as they thought that they need to expand the economy. And when your own people are not making enough babies, then you're forced to have other people come and fill in the gap. The world oldest trick in the book is immigration. You don't like it here, it's not working there, you just move to the next place. That's the oldest thing that humans have been doing. Since they have been created, they have migrated from one place to another. In fact, it is the natural thing in our nature. Birds migrate from one area to another. Whales migrate from one area to another. Dolphins migrate from one area to another. Zebras, cows, you just name it. Migration is the natural aspect of this world. The only constant is change. The only constant is the fact that things will continue to change. It's very funny because I remember I was reading when I was in high school, they found us, a pharaoh's a script that goes back to the pharaoh times, the ancient Egyptians. And there's this, old Egyptian guy writing in, Egyptian, old ancient Egyptian, and he's complaining about the newer generation. Oh, these new generation, they're lazy. Oh, they don't want to do any work. 3,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, the same trick is in the book, same repeating itself. Older generations complaining about newer generations, older people complaining about change happening. That's okay. Change is meant to happen. Things are meant to be uncomfortable. Things are meant to continue to change. But we are, as humans, are the ones that are supposed to make it humane. We are the ones that are supposed to add a touch to make this acceptable for everyone else. We are the ones that are supposed to make this right versus wrong. And when we see that we keep hiding powerful people who are connected to the Jeffrey Epstein network, who are connected to the culture war and funding culture war, and we look at the bigger picture of how they're always getting away with stuff, whether it is, you know, bribing, whether it's human trafficking, or whether it's just war profiteering, or war gambling. They're all making money out of it. And we're just sitting there and we're being played as a pawn. When is enough for people? That's a question that you have to answer for yourself as Americans. That's a question Israelis have to answer themselves. That's a question Europeans have to answer themselves. We can't force that opinion upon you. But the ones that are now doing it, according to the latest rap song that I shared on my profile, the Americans cooking it, Europeans cooling it down, Israelis are eating it, and the Arabs are cleaning the dishes. That's how the world in the Middle East views it. So what the point is that they're all the same coin. They all need to face power in these countries. People tell me, Wajih, why haven't we seen people in America and European countries not step up and actually risk more to demand change? And I take you to also one of the oldest things in strategy books. You haven't lost everything you have. When you have nothing to lose is when people really rile up. Well, revolution happens when people are genuinely hungry. Meaning, mom, dad are rationing their own food. So my sister and I can have maybe a hot dog for dinner and lunch. When mom lost her job and dad just got laid off, and whatever side hustle they were doing got busted on the side, and you literally know no one else in this country. That's how the Arab Spring started. You want me to remind you how it happened? A guy that tried knocking every door, family filled with debt, struggling with the bureaucracy of government policies, not able to get a license to sell fruits or vegetables, even. And yet, this guy still comes out of his house, decide that he needs to have a hustle so he can bring the basic end meet of a couple dollars a day. Only that for his fruit and vegetable cart that he was pushing from street to street in his local city to be taken away from him. What else do you want this person to do? He took gasoline, stood in front of the government building, and lit himself on fire. Government tried to save him. They put him in the hospital. The president himself visited him, and yet he died a couple days later. But before he even died, the streets were all filled with people fighting, demanding justice and demanding change. And that's how Tunisia got its revolution. And that's the spark that lit the fire in the rest of the Arab nations. This is to tell you that you guys, unfortunately, are very close to losing almost everything you have. How many Americans currently live paycheck to paycheck? How many Americans are actually rationing out their food for their kids? How many Americans actually can afford their insulin or their drugs and medications? Same thing to Europeans and same thing to other countries. You put that into perspective, and you are closer to a nuclear ticking bomb than the Middle East is. No one is telling you about that. We are focused talking about the corruption and the war that the US is conducting in the Middle East, and makes sense. But as long as you continue to be squeezed out, your national security is the one thing that is continuing to be at most risk. Let me remind you that the United States is the second country in the world to have weapon per capita, and the first country in the world to have weapon per capita is a failed state, and it's Yemen. Yemen is number one weapon per capita. United States is number two. So if a civil war happens, you have a bloodbath everywhere. My condolences to the families of the American lost soldiers that were deployed in the Middle East. I know many soldiers didn't even want to go in this deployment. I know many soldiers on ships are approaching they're approaching the year count on these boats and have not been sent back home. I hope that America can catch its mistakes before it's too late. I hope Americans and Europeans wake up to the difference between culture war versus the class war. And I hope that we unite as people sooner than ever. Like, subscribe, and share. If you like this type of analysis and feedback, please consider becoming a subscriber. If you have not become a paid subscriber yet, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It helps pays the bills, fund the type of work. So we could do this on a regular basis, daily basis, in fact. If you cannot afford becoming a paid subscriber, no big deal. Reach out to me. I've been giving them away to people who want one. I'm more than happy to give them one. Just let me know that you need one. My content is exclusive content. You don't necessarily have to pay for my exclusive content, but it is exclusive. And it is people who are paying and making and supporting this channel that are making this type of content available and possible for everyone else. So thank you for everyone that has become a paid subscriber. Thank you for everyone that has supported my channel and have been showing up on a regular basis. Keep your eyes open. Tomorrow at 11 Eastern Time, I'll be interviewing Dr. Deborah Shushan, a Georgetown University fella, to discuss the latest regarding U.S. Middle Eastern war and the latest regarding the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. See you tomorrow. Stay tuned. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching a recording. Like, subscribe, and comment, and then join us on Substack. As always, remember, you may not fuck with politics, but politics will always fuck with you. As always, مع السلامة, bye bye وبالإنجليزي. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow.